Hello everyone, this is Dimitri from Not Just Games and welcome back to part 8 of our ongoing devlog series where we're porting our Unity game Hate Me Not over to Godot. This week we mostly worked on the weapon system and that's what we are going to be showing you today. And we're going to also show you two different ways of how it would be possible to implement this kind of modular weapon system. But I'm not sure which one is the best one actually. The one we used right now is the same one as we used when we were doing the game jam. But while we were porting our game from Unity to Godot, I discovered also different ways to do this kind of systems so that they allow for kind of like flexibility in the design. So the weapon system works differently than, for example, the buffs work or the items work. And I want you to tell me which one is your preferred style of coding at the end of the video. So without further ado, let's check out the weapons we ported over last week. So the default weapon is this small kind of pistol thing, and it just shoots into the straight line and the bullets disappear after hitting an enemy, and they do just a simple damage point. Nothing too crazy here. So you might be asking yourself, how do I get a weapon now? And that's very simple. You just need to approach one of these totems. And then a choice will be given to you. Or more like, either choose this or leave. And if you choose to accept the totem's offering, then you are gonna be presented with a positive effect and a negative effect. It's always gonna be like that. Yin and yang. And in this case, for example, you would get the Boomerang weapon, but you would lose 5 health. For now we only have the health as a debuff or like negative consequence, but in the future we can see all sorts of funny things. We can play pranks on the player, and also it's gonna be really like this risk-reward kind of feeling that you will always have to consider, is it worth to get this buff if I will have to face this negative consequences as well. And let's just try now, picking up the Boomerang. And this is how it looks like. Basically, this was the weapon that was the most painful to design because it was so much fun to play around. Like, look at this. I don't know, it feels so nice. It took a little bit to get the values right so that it feels nice when it comes back. And when I move around, it follows me wherever I go. And it even passes through enemies. So basically, if I choose to hit it like that, and it does this roundabout around you, it could hit multiple enemies without consuming more ammo. I think this is one of the weapons that are gonna be super powerful, but will require a lot of skill to really master. Because I can see so many possibilities how this can be broken, but I don't have the skill to do that. You have the thing with dash, for example. I don't know how this could work with maybe an infinite looping thing. I only managed to get it to 1 second. So I only managed it to go infinitely around, but almost infinitely, if I move in a circular pattern. But the problem is the enemies will come from different sides as well. So I'm not sure if somebody will manage to have the skill to do that infinitely. But if they do, this will be the weapon they will use. It's gonna be so much fun, at least I hope so. I had a lot of fun playing with this, and let's maybe go and kill some enemies with this. The Boomerang is a little bit stronger than the default weapon. It does 2 points of damage. So let's wait for the second wave to come here, and let's try to get this infinite combo thing here. Maybe, okay, I'm so bad at this, but it's just so much fun to... Yes, okay, I'm ready for the enemies. Come on, where are you? Oh my god, it's still a few seconds away. Okay. It's too difficult to keep doing that for a while. Okay, just quick that. Yes, okay, I managed to hit 2. Okay, one is passing. I think for me it's a little bit too hardcore to keep playing a whole game like this, but I could see somebody doing a challenge where they have only 1 bullet to just beat the game or something like that. So tell me what you think about this weapon. Do you like the Boomerang and the design of it? Do you like this infinite crazy thing? I would like to hear that in the comments because yeah, I am not sure 100% if everybody would be on the same level of excitement as me. But therefore we have also other weapons, and we can go now to one of those. So for the second weapon we have the candle, and it's more fearsome than it sounds. Basically, it might look like a small candle that's just gonna, you know, give you a little bit of light, but actually it's kind of like a flamethrower. So the bullets here do very little damage, but there's so many of them, and I realize now I need to fix this ammo display here. It displays the floating point value of the ammo, but I would rather it to display integers. In any case, it consumes very little ammo, does very little damage, but it's a flamethrower. What do you want? It's a flamethrower. And let's go hit some enemies with it. So the screen shake effect is a little bit strong with this one. I think I might need to tone it down depending on the strength of the bullets. Maybe that would be something that would make sense. So if there's a strong bullet that's a singular bullet and it would hit, it would do a massive screen shake, and the smaller ones would barely even do anything. I'm not sure. Have to think about that one. Okay, in any case, it's a simple flamethrower here. I don't know what else to say. We can go over to the next one, which is gonna be a melee weapon. So now for the final weapon, we have the katana. And of course we will need to have a katana, right? I mean, what kind of game would it be without a katana and the fantasy to just dash and hit? And this actually, the slash here, it's a bullet that moves very, very slowly. But it works and it looks nice. So yeah. I've been showing the demo around a little bit, and from all the weapons, the katana is the one that when I show it to somebody, they're like, damn, this is fun. Let's try it out. One hit the spider, one hit the spider, one hit the spider, one hit the spider. Okay, this one maybe 2 hits. But it just feels nice when you're dashing around hitting enemies. And now that we're all coming from the same location, which was a little bit sad, it's even more fun when you're dashing around into different directions and the enemies are coming and you have to hit them. Oh no, I ran out of ammo. Yes, of course you need ammunition to hit with a katana. Yeah, we'll probably rename this into energy or something like that. That would make more sense. But in any case, so all of the weapons will have 2 abilities, the left click and the right click, and we were thinking that the katana should have a secondary dash, which is gonna just dash towards the direction, which is gonna be longer than the initial dash or the default dash, and it's gonna deal damage to the enemies that are gonna be passing through. So I think potentially this is gonna be a very easy way to play and fun way to play. Alright, these were all of the weapons we managed to port over and create in the last week. I would like to know your opinion about them. Tell us in the comments below, what do you think? Are they good? Are they looking fun to play? Are they like, maybe they should be adjusted a bit, and how? So we would like to hear your feedback about them, and in the meantime, if you care to check out how it looks like in the backend with the different kind of abilities for each of the weapon, then we can go over to the coding part. Animations fancy. Here we are in Godot 3.5.2, and the way that we have implemented the different kind of systems actually varies a little bit. And we have experimented with 2 different ways to implement different modular, dynamic kind of objects like enemies, items, where you have a base thing or like base behavior, but each of the items, each of the enemies maybe behave a little bit differently. In the same way for the weapons. And we have one which is relying heavily on inheritance, and we have one which is relying on scriptable objects of Godot, which is basically resources. For example, the items have each their own individual script. What I mean by that is each type of item has its own script. So the boots item, which is giving you speed, has its own script, which exposes different kind of parameters. For example, speed change. The clock item gives the designer the choice of how much the time should be multiplied or like divided in this kind of case to make the game feel slower. Then we have the health, which could potentially be positive or could potentially be negative. And each of these configurations is their own item that can be then instantiated inside of the game as is. And because we're using inheritance and each resource here has a different script, it allows us to expose only the variables that are relevant for this specific type of item. So for example, a health item only cares about health change, and that's why it's only exposing the health change thing. The other items are not exposing health change, they're exposing ammo change, for example, or the speech change. I opened up Rider to show you how the scripts looks like. So the item ammo script is using inheritance to describe itself as being something that can be picked up, and that is a buff. And the handle pickup method comes from the pickable thing. So basically when the player goes above it and sees, oh, this thing is a pickable, so I can pick it up, it calls the handle pickup method. And in this item ammo specific case, we are just adding a buff to the player, and technically in our case, getting ammo is a buff that is having a duration of 0. It just instantly gives you the ammo. And that's how it works. Start needs to be defined because the item is a buff. So when the buff starts to apply, it just immediately changes the ammo for whatever the ammo changes. And when it ends, nothing happens. And the duration is generally speaking 0. We could have changed it, but it also wouldn't have impacted the buff or the logic at all, because the way that this buff is written is basically an instant thing that just changes quickly your ammo. And this is, for example, how we implemented the ammo item. We could go over to the boots and they tell a little bit of a different story, but they're still following the same structure. Basically, we have the item boots, and it's again a pickable and the buff. And what happens here is when it's getting picked up, it adds itself to the player as a buff. And then once it starts, then it changes the speed of the player. And when it ends, it reverts that change. And basically this kind of thing here, this inheritance-based structure and exposing the only relevant parameters here are allowing us to make, for example, items which are not really buffs, for example. They are then just something else completely. They're just items you pick up and they trigger some ability. So anything that can be picked up, so a pickable. And it also allows us to create buffs which do not need necessarily to be picked up as an item. They can be passed to the player by just destroying an enemy or interacting with anything else other than an item. And this, for us, is kind of cool and very flexible, but the negative thing about it is that although you can inherit from different kind of interfaces, you cannot inherit from multiple classes. So that means when you have the implementation ready and done, you cannot just say that I want this thing to be an item health and an item ammo and an item, yeah, does not work. Yeah, just doesn't work. Interface name expected. Basically, you can have multiple interfaces, but you cannot have multiple classes as an inheritance thing, you know what I mean. So we've tried a little bit of a different approach when creating the weapons. How we did that for the weapons is we have a weapon manager that sits on the player. And the weapon manager gets a weapon definition. And the weapon definition is only one. It exists once and it doesn't have any functions. It doesn't know what to do. The only script that knows what to do with the weapon definition is the weapon manager. So for example, the weapon definition tells us where the weapon is supposed to be placed, on the hand, or if it's a katana, in the back. And this is happening inside of the weapon manager. The weapon definition itself does not know what to do with it, with its own properties. It's like an empty shell and you just place values inside, but yeah, it does not know what to do with them. That means it's not necessary here to have inheritance. And this has a positive and a negative effect. For once, every weapon only needs to have the weapon definition script, and they can do everything that any kind of weapon anyways can do. So they could shoot multiple bullets, make the bullets come back to itself. The weapon could disappear once you shoot and then appear again once you have reloaded, like the katana does. These kind of effects, they are only described in, for example, reload time, attack type, if it's a stream or if it's a charged attack, which we're gonna do in another kind of weapon. So, hide weapon while cooldown, how many bullets it shoots, and the bullets itself, they also are definitions, and they also work as basic empty shells that do not know what to do with themselves. I'm just gonna show you now in Godot how this thing is more beneficial and its drawbacks, because it also is not perfect. Let's take for example the Boomerang. The Boomerang as a weapon has the weapon definition script, and it has information about its placement position, the sprites for the weapon, the name of the weapon that's displayed later when the description of the totem is shown that you can get the Boomerang weapon, and it has a primary mode and a secondary mode. These are themselves also just very simple scripts. This is the weapon definition. This is the weapon mode definition, and it tells us if the weapon should be hidden while it's on cooldown, the attack type, if it's a stream, charged or melee, then you have the reload time, how much ammunition should be consumed whenever you shoot, and then you have a list of bullets definitions, and these are also again here resources. Basically, you can tell them that need to return to the player, the angular speed, so this is handling the rotation. Again, the bullet itself has a sprite frames as animation. You can scale the bullet, you can destroy it when the animation is finished, you can destroy it when it hits a target. You can change the speed, the damage, the lifetime, you can change the spread, which we use for the flamethrower candle thing, and you can change the collider scale. So, as you see, here you don't need to create a different script for each of the future weapons. If I want to create a weapon that does everything at the same time, that would be possible. But, unfortunately, that means that I have to display all of the properties always. The bullet of the Boomerang does not care if it could potentially get destroyed when hitting the enemy. It does not care about this setting or this setting. So it's very unfortunate, because the more different kind of settings we will add, the more crowded this UI will get. So designing a new weapon doesn't always require new functionality in the code if it's about combining different already existing functionality. But, unfortunately, it's just gonna get crowded with the future. So, yeah, these are the two different ways we have implemented the systems. And I can see benefits for both of them. And I guess depending on how many different kind of abilities you want to have, the one is better over the other one. Of course, every system has its own benefits and drawbacks, and everybody will have to use the ones that's fitting appropriately to the scope of the project, to the general architecture and stuff. But I'm asking you more, what do you prefer? What do you think is the nicer way of developing? If the project does not matter, if the architecture does not matter, if you as a developer would like to work in one of the two systems, which one would it be? And also, if you use another kind of system, let me know, because I'm really open to trying a lot of different approaches here. It's a relatively small scope project, which we are gonna, of course, still publish on Steam, so we are still trying to do here productive stuff. But we're seeing this as a first-time Godot project to also experiment a little bit with different kind of architectures and systems, and hopefully we will find ways to, in the future, create easier new systems and just generally do better practices as the time goes and we get more experience. So, with that said, I want to thank you because we reached 200 subscribers and I really was never expecting that in any kind of case. The idea was more of just showing that it's possible to move away from Unity to Godot and help the one or other person that might have a similar issue as we have. And that's it. That was the plan. And whatever else is gonna be happening, we have no idea. But the important thing is that we will keep doing what we're doing. We're gonna make more devlogs, we're gonna make more tutorials, anything that's gonna be related to this whole thing of moving away from Unity to Godot. In the future there will be also tutorials of the Godot 3.5.2 to 4.x jump, because that is also gonna come in the future once web exports are existing. And if you'd like to support us in any kind of way, leaving a like is enough. And if you want to be extra cool, then you can subscribe. And yeah, that's it. Devlog's done. See you in the next one.